Your top stories this evening, sponsored by Courts Bringing Value Home. PM PHILLIPS agitated over calls for EDGHILL's resignation. He must sit down and be quiet. WALTON-DESIR. Government must identify legal basis of MV BARIMA investigation. WALTON-DESIR. Internationally trained Coast Guard-led rescue unit abandoned after 2020. PATTERSON. MV BARIMA tragedy. Woman recounts final conversation before disaster. And in sport, Windies steal 5th ODI win against New Zealand. HGP Nightly News begins now. Good evening to our viewers here in Guyana and online. I'm Alethea Grant with the Wednesday, 22nd July 2026 edition of the HGP Nightly News. We will tell you this evening that as public demands intensify for transparency, accountability and the resignation of Public Works Minister EDGHILL following the tragic MV BARIMA tragedy, Prime Minister Mark Phillips has voiced his strong objections to mounting pressure. The incident, which resulted in significant loss and raised serious safety concerns, has sparked widespread debate and calls for government action. More details in this report.
The MV BARIMA tragedy has become a focal point for public scrutiny, with citizens and stakeholders urging a full investigation into the circumstances surrounding the disaster. Many from the opposition and civil society have directed their frustration towards Public Works Minister EDGHILL, questioning his role and responsibility in overseeing maritime safety and infrastructure. The calls for his resignation reflect a broader demand for governmental accountability and reform in public works management. On Tuesday evening, during a media briefing, visibly agitated Prime Minister, Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips took umbrage to those calls, highlighting the complexity of the issues involved and cautioning against hasty conclusions.
If you can allow Minister EDGHILL to say if he believes the cause for him to resign are justified. That is all I'm asking.
We've heard the noise, and I want to congratulate you for contributing to the noise.
PM Phillips, however, praised the opposition led by leader Azruddin Mohammed for assisting in recovery efforts, but criticized, on the other hand, for politicizing the issue and calling them opposition elements. Meanwhile, at a joint opposition press conference hosted on Wednesday, WALTON-DESIR emphasized the urgent need for the government to clearly communicate the procedures that will be followed in establishing an impartial commission of inquiry. The Member of Parliament, who holds a Master of Laws degree in International Maritime Law, emphasized the need for clarity on the Commission's formation, criteria for impartiality and steps for ensuring fairness to build public trust.
Government. I believe it is time that we draw expertise from the international community to give Guyanese some sense of hope. We don't trust this government. And then, of course, there may be criminal proceedings flowing out of it. So this is why it's important that you have institutional arrangements and people in positions that understand what has to happen.
She also responded to PM Phillips' apparent nonchalance surrounding calls for Minister EDGHILL's resignation and accusing the opposition for politicizing the matter.
He should not be even publicly speaking on any of these matters, but we have to endure him press conference after press conference, trying to score political points about what they did and what they did not do. Now is not the time for that. He must sit down and he must be quiet.
Antonio De reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Forward Guyana movement leader WALTON-DESIR says the government must immediately clarify what legal investigation it has launched into the MV BARIMA disaster, arguing that a commission of inquiry cannot replace an independent marine safety investigation she says Guyana is required to conduct. More details in this report.
A commission of inquiry cannot substitute for the independent marine safety investigation required after the MV BARIMA disaster, Forward Guyana movement leader WALTON-DESIR has argued. Speaking during a joint press conference hosted by opposition parties, WALTON-DESIR called on the government to state precisely which legal process it has activated, under what authority it will proceed, and who will lead that investigation. Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips has repeatedly said the government will establish a commission of inquiry into the capsizing. WALTON-DESIR said that announcement by itself leaves important legal questions unanswered.
The reality that we're seeing here is that Guyana's development has outpaced its institutional capacity. And unless we build institutions that are equivalent to our growth, more Guyanese will pay with their lives.
According to her interpretation, the International Maritime Organization IMO framework requires Guyana to conduct an independent safety investigation following a very serious maritime casualty. That investigation, WALTON-DESIR said, must focus on establishing what happened, identify the conditions that allowed it to happen, and recommend measures to prevent another disaster.
Every serious marine casualty requires an independent safety investigation. We want to emphasize that that investigation is not about assigning blame. It is about establishing the facts and identifying the safety failures that have allowed the tragedy to occur.
While not completely ruling out a commission of inquiry, WALTON-DESIR said such a commission could consider broader issues of public administration, responsibility, and culpability, but should not replace a mandatory technical marine investigation.
Which commission of inquiry? Is the government proposing a commission of inquiry established under the Commissions of Inquiry Act? Is it referring to the formal investigation provided for under Part 18 of the Guyana Shipping Act? Or is it referring to the marine safety investigation required under the International Maritime Casualty Investigation Code?
The government has not yet publicly provided the proposed inquiry's terms of reference, membership, or complete legal framework. WALTON-DESIR demanded that those details be disclosed without delay. She warned that waiting for a commission of inquiry to be assembled could place important evidence at risk. Marvin Cato reported for HGP Nightly News.
Meanwhile, Public Infrastructure Minister David Patterson has blamed what he described as a fragmented national search and rescue system following the response to the MV BARIMA disaster. He alleges that a Coast Guard structure developed under the former APNU-AFC coalition government was redirected after the People's Progressive Party civic government came into office. Here is more.
Former Public Infrastructure Minister David Patterson says the response to the MV BARIMA disaster exposed serious weaknesses in Guyana's search and rescue system, including uncertainty over command-limited operational equipment and poor coordination among state agencies. Patterson alleged that these weaknesses emerged after the PPC government moved away from plans developed under the former APNU-AFC administration for a dedicated search and rescue unit led by the Ghana Defence Force Coast Guard. According to Patterson, his ministry sought British assistance to overhaul Guyana's rescue capabilities as offshore oil production expanded and maritime traffic increased.
We brought down a retired admiral, rear admiral, and an entire crew to revamp our search and rescue operations. And this is not only for public transportation, maritime transportation. This is the advent of oil and gas.
Patterson said an interagency committee was subsequently established, bringing together his ministry, the then Ministry of Public Security, the GDF, and other relevant bodies. The committee reportedly recommended the creation of a dedicated and fully funded rescue unit operating under the Coast Guard.
When the PPP came in, as usual, anything that no matter how sensible it was, they sought out to change. So they moved it from the Coast Guard and carried it to Civil Defense Commission, who has a totally different mandate. On
the topic of the timing, it was alleged that the first distress signal was received by the traffic control tower at the Chedijagan International Airport in Timeri before 10 p.m. on that ill-fated Saturday. But that important message was not relayed until 2 a.m., approximately 4 hours later. Patterson placed responsibility for the alleged breakdown squarely at the feet of the current administration, accusing it of changing a system developed with international technical assistance without replacing it with an equally capable structure.
No one really knows knows who is in charge. So when a distress call comes, we had an entire protocol. We've been the Coast Guards have vessels. The GDF is on standby. There's a protocol that there must always be 2 operational helicopters.
The MV BARIMA capsized late Saturday night off the Essequibo coast. Authorities said the first distress report was received at about 11 p.m., while the Coast Guard located at the mouth of the Pomeroon River reportedly arrived near the location at approximately 2:30 a.m. Antonio De reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
More news after the break. Stay with us.
It's game on. And you may not be able to predict the scoreline or who will win each game. And you sure can't predict who will be the champion. But what is predictable is that Courts has what you need to watch the games the way you want to every time. It's game on. Courts, bringing value home.
Welcome to SNL Electrical Inc., where lighting and electrical needs are met with expertise and style. From the latest in electrical lamps to durable cables, circuit breakers, panels, we have it all. Illuminate your space with our elegant chandeliers, stunning crystal lights, and versatile pole lights. Looking to upgrade your comfort? Explore top-of-the-line AC units and our diverse selections of stylish styles. Visit us at 170-180 Thomas Street, Kitty, Georgetown. Discover solution that not only lights up your world but transforms it. Call us on telephone number 226-3018 or 223-1634. SNL Electrical Inc., powering your life with elegance, quality, and care.
Krishna Rolf Establishment. No job is too small or too large. We specialize in all types of fabricating machinery, excavator repairs, rice field pumps, and hydraulic hoses. Visit us at Lot 113, Block CC, Manripo, East Coast, and Marara, or call 220-9624-629-4021 or 619-7880. At Krishna Rolf Establishment, no job is too small or too large.
Welcome back. You're watching the HGP Nightly News. Opposition parties on Wednesday at a joint press conference said Public Works Minister EDGHILL made several missteps during the initial phase of the MV BARIMA tragedy and should therefore be asked to step aside or tender his resignation. Marvin Cato is on that story.
David Patterson, former minister responsible for public works under the APNU-AFC government, during a joint opposition press conference on Wednesday, was asked how would he have approached the current MV BARIMA disaster.
First and foremost, you have to be respectful. And when I say be respectful, less than 12 hours after the unfortunate incident, there's a TikTok video of EDGHILL getting up. The vessel was not overloaded.
The current AFC acting leader said Minister EDGHILL is seen at the top of his voice, literally berating the feelings, eyesight, and the memory of the survivors. Patterson said every single survivor said they remember the vessel being overloaded. He reminded that the survivors are the ones traversing that route for years, so their first-hand knowledge of how it looks when it is at its capacity would be intimate to them. He said the minister showed no compassion in his initial update to the nation. He said EDGHILL viewed any constructive criticism as being negative to his stewardship of the ministry.
First thing you have to do is respectful. Second thing you have to do is remorseful. I mean, you have to empathize with people.
Patterson was adamant that in order to bring the desired result and show to the Guyanese people that you are caring, accountable, and transparent, you have to let the necessary institutions that handles maritime disasters work uninterrupted and unimpeded. Further, Francis Bailey, a representative of VPAC, said were he in Minister EDGHILL's position, he would have ensured that all assets that would be required for search and rescue operations countrywide is operable.
What I would have wanted to see is a more immediate response, people being mobilized to the site.
He alluded to the unserviceable helicopters that are parked at the Guyana Defence Forces hangar, among other ills that showed the unpreparedness of the minister. Bailey said there are established protocols there that by now should have been activated to deal with the issue. He said it would appear that there were no regular testing of the life rafts and life jackets aboard the vessel. Meanwhile, Shadow Minister of Public Works Janelle Swetnam said if the shoe was on her foot as subject minister, she would do the honorable thing and step aside.
I would resign.
She said ministerial responsibility means accepting accountability not only when systems succeed, but when systems fail. Marvin Cato, reporting for HGP Nightly News.
As the nation continues to grapple with the devastating loss of lives in the MV Barima tragedy, families are now sharing heartbreaking accounts of the days leading up to the disaster and the loved ones they are still desperately hoping to find. Tonight, one woman is speaking publicly, recounting the final conversations she had with her husband and the troubling concerns she says were raised about the vessel before it sailed. Travis Chase reports.
For years, Neil Court made a living aboard Guyana's ferries. After spending years working on the Kimbia ferry, he eventually became the canteen operator on the MV Barima, serving passengers on the long journey between Georgetown and Port Kaituma. His brother, Kenrick Court, would often accompany him, helping to operate the canteen. His wife, Diane Court, says the ferry had become a way of life for their family. She regularly accompanied her husband to help load supplies for the canteen, clean the area after every voyage, washed dishes, and some trips even prepared meals for passengers. But today she is left with only memories, still waiting for definitive answers about the fate of both her husband and brother-in-law. In an emotional account, Mrs. Court recalled disturbing conversations she says took place before the ill-fated voyage. According to her, when the MV Barima returned to Georgetown from its previous trip, an engineer told her some troubling findings. Her husband reportedly confirmed the same concern.
So he said, Auntie Diane, this boat only come with one engine we come back with. The engine have to fix. So it's looking obviously like we might be in Georgetown a little while to get it fixed.
Mrs. Court said she spent the days before the departure helping her husband prepare the canteen, while on board the afternoon before the tragedy, she claims a second engineer told her the vessel was still experiencing problems with the engine and that the issue had already been reported to senior officials but was ignored. She said workers were still attempting repairs while the ferry was fully loaded, and shortly afterwards, another engineer was brought on board. According to her, the vessel already had 4 generators. Vehicles, she said, were reportedly loaded with goods, and even a body was being transported for burial.
The boat was so packed. It was so packed to the max. Plus it had a pickup, it had a car. And when you see like customers send cars or so, they just normally put the goods inside.
She added that on Saturday, hours before the tragedy, she was about to disembark the boat after assisting her husband at the canteen, but witnessed something troubling.
And I go upstairs, I just got to pass the passengers, them upstairs. Oh, when I go upstairs, if you see people, I say, oh, this boat full. If you see children, babies.
Mrs. Court says, as she prepared to leave the vessel that afternoon, something did not feel right.
And I come off the boat, and even me, and she turned and tell me, Diane, this boat low, this boat too low. She come and she said, Diane, we pray. But we ignored the prayer, we didn't pray. I didn't pray, probably if I didn't pray, I don't know, probably God would have.
Hours later, a friend from Barima called with the devastating news that the MV Barima had gone down. As rescue and recovery efforts continue, Diane Court says she remains trapped in agonizing uncertainty, still waiting to learn whether the two men she waved goodbye to that afternoon were rescued or are among those who never made it home. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
The incomplete wharf at Port Kaituma, according to former Public Works Minister David Patterson, is as a result of gross mismanagement. Patterson said plans were left by the previous administration that were subsequently discarded, and as a result, years have passed and the new wharf remains incomplete. Marvin Cato reports.
Minister of Public Works Juan EDGHILL on Tuesday explained that the government's US $12.7 million MV militia has not yet made its maiden voyage to Port Kaituma, Region 1, because the newly constructed wharf there developed structural problems that are yet to be fixed. The minister made the disclosure while addressing the National Two-Shows Council NTC conference ongoing at the Advertisements Conference Center. David Patterson, former Minister of Public Works, during an exclusive interview with Nightly News, said the wharf at Port Kaituma, which was expected to accommodate MV Militia, a much larger vessel, failed because of poor work done by the design company.
So Semco designed a revetment. This is the same that you see on the streets, on Lamaha Street or those things when you put the revetment on the trench to retain the soil.
Patterson pointed out that the project had to be redesigned.
Had to now drive 90-meter piles and those things like that to get the structure not to fall in.
In 2024, the contractor at that time said the revetment failure placed the project on hold until Semco made the necessary adjustment. Patterson said the problem lies with the government since it continues to accept substandard work, and when it fails, the consequences are borne by the taxpayers.
They are laying the blame primarily on the wharf at Port Kaituma not being fixed. That's why MV Militia, that's why BARIMA is there. There are other issues.
The MV Militia, a roll-on, roll-off ferry, because of its size, cannot maneuver in the channel to service the area. Patterson pointed out that the government did not accept the proposed recommendations and now finds itself in a quagmire, a clear indication of gross mismanagement. He reminded that until the government seeks professional help, the riverine communities will continue to suffer with the fleet of aged vessels that transport both passengers and the cargo. The MV Militia was bought for US $12.7 million. However, Patterson said had they followed the plan left by the coalition government, they would have procured the right boat that would have been able to service the Port Kaituma area immediately after its arrival and commissioning. Marvin Cato reporting for HGP Nightly News.
More news after this break. Stay with us.
Planning a cleanup? We can help. Sevon's Waste Management skip bins can be provided for home renovation projects, yard cleanup, or construction project. It's simple. Step 1, give us a call. Step 2, we put down the bin. Step 3, load it up with all of your junk. Step 4, we take it away. That's simple. Bins are also available in various sizes, so there is no job that is too big or too small. Call Sevon's Waste Management today at 218-1455.
Whatever your dream is, Republic Bank can help you make it happen. You can make it happen. Let's help you get there with a Make It Happen loan.
Republic Bank. We're the one for you.
We finance everything with Courts Ready Finance, from educational expenses and those unplanned emergencies. Get it done with financing through Courts Ready Finance. All you need to apply is a valid ID, proof of income, proof of address, and 2 references. Get quick approval and flexible monthly installments, plus credit protection insurance. Apply in store or online at courts.com. Courts Ready Finance. Ready when you are. Conditions apply.
Welcome back. You're still watching the HGP Nightly News. President of the Transparency Institute of Guyana Incorporated, Mike Singh, has called on government to establish an international commission of inquiry which must include reputable agencies like the International Maritime Organization. Singh made that call after government signaled its intention to establish a commission of inquiry into the tragic MV BARIMA incident. Antonio Day reports.
The MV BARIMA disaster has claimed numerous lives as authorities continue to recover victims. Prime Minister Mark Phillips stated that a commission of inquiry shows government's commitment to investigating the tragedy.
If you have a report, when the investigation process starts, the commission of inquiry, or whatever you want to call it, feel free, come forward and give statements, present your facts to that commission of inquiry. That will be an independent commission of inquiry. We are obligated as a government to do that.
The Prime Minister, in responding to the media, stated that the government is currently not in a position to address the technical aspects of the MV BARIMA vessel disaster. A commission of inquiry typically examines all facets of the incident, ranging from safety protocols and vessel conditions to regulatory oversight and emergency response adequacy.
A lot of people lost their lives there, right? A lot of people, even though they may have been rescued, they left traumatized, right? People would have lost their earnings, okay? So we are obligated to do such an investigation.
Meanwhile, President of the Transparency Institute of Guyana Incorporated, Mike Singh, has called for an international commission of inquiry, which must include reputable agencies like the International Maritime Organization. During an exclusive interview with Nightly News on Wednesday, Singh posited that a police investigation will not be fully effective based on some limitations.
It's going to be very difficult for the police because they don't have the subject matter experts to deal with issues of marine tragedy. So I do support, in principle, the government supportive or calling for a commission of inquiry.
Singh said that the commission of inquiry should not be a replay of the tragic Madia dormitory fire back in 2023.
It has to be an international commission of inquiry made up of competent experts from the International Maritime Organization, the Caribbean Maritime Institute, which if I recall is based in Kingston, Jamaica, and those types of entities where you have credible individuals with no vested interest in Guyana.
Singh also called for Public Works Minister EDGHILL to be sent packing, alongside officials from the Maritime Administration Department, known as MARAD.
Immediately sack the bishop, the junior minister, and remove the entire leadership of MARAD. That is the first item of business. Today, most people have no faith in the state.
Antonio Day reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Stay tuned for regional news.
Fruitopia, Fruitopia, it's a drink that's hype. Citrus punch, fruit punch tastes nice. Guava, pineapple, that give me a vibe. We no want nothing less compared to the rest. Fruitopia the best. Quench any thirst when it comes to the test. Perfect thing for my lunch. Flavors pack a punch. Fruitopia, Fruitopia, it's a drink that's hype. It's citrus punch, fruit punch tastes nice. Fruitopia, the drink that rocks your lunchtime.
Guyana, August 1st is Emancipation Day. Come to the National Park and celebrate with the African Cultural Development Association ACTA at Emancipation Festival 33. Come celebrate with performances by Guyana's best local acts and a spectacular finale by our international guests. Come for the African food, music, history, storytelling, and all things African. Gates open at 10 a.m. sharp. Children under 12, free. Adults, $1,000 before 3 p.m., $2,000 after. Let's celebrate the eons of African contributions to the world. Harambe, we all hold together.
What if the next big opportunity in Guyana isn't offshore but starts in a classroom? Right now, the University of Guyana is preparing students for high-demand careers in the energy sector. From petroleum and marine engineering to port management and supply chain logistics, there are real pathways to real opportunities. and it goes beyond engineering. Students can also train in environmental science, climate change management, oil and gas accounting, taxation, audit, and energy law. This is more than education. This is building the future workforce for one of the fastest growing energy economies in the world, and you can be part of it. Since oil production started offshore, oil and gas companies have been investing in the long-term development of Guyana. To learn more about the oil and gas programs offered by the University of Guyana, visit www.uog.edu.gy.
Good evening and welcome to Wednesday's edition of the Regional News. I'm Antonio Day. Here's what you need to know as we turn attention to news coming out of the region. We begin with news in Jamaica. The government is intensifying consultations on its framework for the religious use of cannabis, commonly referred to in the legislation as the Sacramento Cannabis Framework. The consultations are aimed at strengthening governance, safeguarding legitimate religious rights, and preserving the integrity of the country's regulated cannabis industry. A proposal to transfer responsibility for the operational governance and administration of the religious cannabis framework to the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport was among several issues discussed during a high-level ministerial consultation held recently at the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. Minister of State in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Honorable Delano Severite, said the review forms part of ongoing efforts to improve policy, clarity and coordination among agencies responsible for administering the framework. The proposal is being considered in recognition of the framework's connection to Jamaica's religious and cultural heritage. Still with news in the region, Surinamese President Jennifer Simmons is currently in the United Kingdom on a 4-day working visit that will focus on the further development of the Surinamese economy and strengthening international economic cooperation. The government said she will hold talks with representatives of international financial institutions and the business community regarding investments, economic development, and the opportunities offered by the Surinamese offshore sector. It said that a visit to London is at the invitation of several international financial institutions and that her delegation will also include the Minister of Finance and Planning. The government said an important part of the program is a meeting with representatives of the Bank of America, one of the largest financial institutions in the world, and the economic outlook of Suriname and the investment opportunities, among other things, will be discussed. Finally, with international news. Pressure has been growing on India's government, with thousands of Cockroach Janta Party supporters continuing to protest in the capital Delhi, despite heavy rains overnight. The youth-led movement seeking education reforms and the resignation of Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan got boost on Tuesday when India's main opposition Congress party leaders protested outside the Prime Minister's house. They were protesting against the brutal police crackdown on Monday's HGP protests, in which dozens of protesters and policemen were injured. Congress shared videos of their MP, Rahul Gandhi, and others being dragged into buses and taken into detention centers. They were later released. On Monday, tens of thousands of protesters flooded central Delhi after HGP called for a march to Parliament as the monsoon session began. At least 60 people were injured after police used batons and tear gas to disperse the crowds. In recent days, support for the HGP has grown beyond Delhi in major cities like Mumbai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Ahmedabad. That has brought us to the end of Wednesday's edition of the Regional News. I'm Antonio Day. Thanks for watching and do take care. Goodbye for now.
Let's now join Delwyn Neblet for HGP's Sports Pulse.
Good evening, Guyana. I'm Delwyn Neblet with your HGP TV Sports Pulse for today, Wednesday, July 22, 2026. We begin tonight with powerlifting. Standout powerlifter Dominic Tyrell has officially broken 2 national records as he secured a bronze medal finish at the Silent Worker Power Series Primetime Team event in Switzerland. Tyrell set a new 83 kg class squat record of 275 kg and also improved his total record to 785 kg, eclipsing his previous mark by 10 kilograms. The Guyanese successfully completed all 9 lifts during the competition. He previously won deadlift bronze and finished 6th overall at the 2024 IPF World Championships in Lithuania before placing 9th in the men's 83 kg division at the 2025 World Championships in Germany. Moving into football, action took place in the East Bank Football Association's Youth Ensemble Under-15 League, with Kurukuru Warriors taking on the Herstelling Raiders at the National Training Center in Providence on Sunday. Kurukuru secured a dominant 9-2 victory as player of the match Tishon Castello was sensational with 5 goals, and Ronaldo Mendonca delivered a brilliant hat-trick. Amal Boya and Tremaine Morrison each scored once in a winning effort. Into basketball, Guyana's senior men's 3-on-3 basketball team have officially arrived in Glasgow, Scotland, ahead of the 2026 Commonwealth Games. Team Guyana will be represented by Kevin Mickle, Anish Ramlal, Christian Hinkson, and Travis Belgrave. Competing in Pool A, Guyana will commence their campaign against host Scotland on Friday, with subsequent fixtures against New Zealand, the Cayman Islands, Australia, and Nigeria. Moving into cricket, action concluded in the 4-day warm-up match between the West Indies Select 11 and Pakistan at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy in Trinidad and Tobago on Tuesday. Commencing day 4 on 268 for 8, the West Indies Select 11 were bowled out for 279 in 89.5 overs. Batting in their second innings, Pakistan reached 219 for 4 in 60.1 overs, as Awaz Zafar top-scored with 64 and Salman Agha added 52. Jamel Warrikan was the pick of the bowlers for the West Indies Select 11, taking 2 for 36, as the match concluded in a draw. Finally, in cricket, action took place in the 5th and final ODI between the West Indies and New Zealand at the Kensington Oval in Barbados on Tuesday. Batting first after being sent in, New Zealand reached 268 for 9 off their allotment of 50 overs, as Tom Latham top-scored with 69. Alzari Joseph and Vittel Laws each picked up 2 wickets for the West Indies. When the Windies responded, they reached 269 for 8 in 47.3 overs, as Shafin Rutherford added 61, and player of the match Shimron Hetmeyer remained unbeaten on 69. Both Jaden Lennox and Jacob Duffy picked up 3 wickets for New Zealand, as the Windies secured a hard-fought 2-wicket victory. New Zealand have successfully claimed the 5-match series 3-2. That's it for this edition of the HGP TV Sports Pulse. I am Delwyn Neblett, reminding you to stay in the game.
PM Phillips agitated over calls for EDGHILL's resignation. He must sit down and be quiet. WALTON-DESIR. Government must identify legal basis of MV Barima investigation. WALTON-DESIR. Internationally trained Coast Guard-led rescue unit was abandoned after 2020. Patterson. MV Barima tragedy. Woman recounts final conversations before disaster. And in sport, Windies steal 5th ODI win against New Zealand. Those are our major headlines. For these stories and more, please go to our website. It's www.hgptv.com. I'm Alethea Grant. Thanks for watching.